Hey everybody, Ms. Dietrich here. We're taking a look at another question, part 3 of 5.5. A geologist visits 40 volcanoes in Alaska and California. 15% of the volcanoes are in California. How many volcanoes does the geologist visit in California and how many in Alaska? All right, we're going to use that method that we talked about earlier, which is the idea of using a double tape diagram just to organize your thinking and map it out. As you get better at this, you may just be able to go right into setting up proportions, which we're going to be learning next. But when we're talking about percent, remember the all of it is 100%. And down here, we have to look and see what the other unit is. They want to know how many volcanoes. So it's a quantity of volcanoes, right? Because it says volcanoes. So I'm just going to put an abbreviation for that just so we know it's volcanoes. All right, and now let's look at the percent. So they're talking about 15% of the volcanoes are in California. Now that's not very many. If we map it out on our percent bar, because remember 50% would be half, 15% is not very much, so we'll just kind of approximate 15% and then we'll throw a label above that. So that would be California. I'll just put the letter C for California above it. Now it's a good idea to think about what would the balance of this be. Let's map that out, because that would be the rest of it would have to be Alaska, right? So let's put A for Alaska. What's the percent and how would I get it? Well, to get that percent, you would subtract 15 from 100 and you would end up getting 85% if you do that correctly. Let's throw that in there. All right, now the bottom bar is actually talking about the quantity of volcanoes. So some of them are going to be in California, some of them will be in Alaska, and if we add those two numbers together, that would be the all of it number, which in this case is 40. All right, now they want to know these two numbers. How are we going to get them? We have a couple ways. One way is to, if we take the all of it number and multiply it by our favorite equivalent of the percent, that will get us the part. And in this case, we have two parts that we're getting. All right, so we need this part for California and we need this part for Alaska. So let's explore how we might do that for California first. So the all of it number is 40. We're going to take 40 and multiply it by our favorite equivalent, which we have some choices. Let's just look to see at what the decimal would look like. If we move this 2 to the left, that would be 1500ths. All right, so we have that option. And over here, if we're going to do the same thing and find this number right here, which is how many volcanoes are in Alaska, so I'm just going to put a V for volcanoes, we would take the all of it number and multiply it by the decimal equivalent of this. So if we move this 1, 2 to the left, remember this is equal to 8500ths. And let's write the 8500ths down here. And if we multiplied that, that would give us the number that we need here. Now, before we proceed with this, let's just explore what if fractions were actually easier. So if we were to do the fraction equivalent of this would be 15 over 100. And we could multiply that, you know, the all of it number times your favorite equivalent, which this is equivalent to this. This is one thing we can explore. So let's just see if that looks any easier than doing this. So if I was to do this, I think I would start by dividing by 10, right? Get rid of the 0, get rid of the 0. And then we might even be able to simplify this. See, 5 goes into that twice, and 5 goes into that 3 times. So if I do 4 times 3, I get 12. And if I do 1 times 2, I get 2. And then if I do 12 divided by 2, I'd get 6. So if I did this, guess what? I would get 6.00. That's also equal to 6. Now one way you can get this number right here, this missing number, we can subtract 6 from 40, and that would be 34. Now another way we could do it is, what if we had taken the 8500ths and multiplied it by 40 instead of doing this? That's another option. And you could simplify all this. But if you did this or this, you would get 34. All right, so you have a lot of options. Mapping it out first is really a great idea.